Recording in progress.
You're all set. Go ahead.
Good afternoon. This is a January 17th, 2023 meeting of the Town of Barnstable Historical Commission. Please note that this meeting is recorded and broadcast on Channel 18 and in accordance with Mass General Law, Chapter 30A, Section 20. I must inquire whether anyone is taping this meeting and to please make their presence known. Acting under the provisions of the Code of the Town of Barnstable, subsection 112-1 through 112-7, the Historical Commission will hold a public hearing on the following applications. The following applications have been determined significant and referred to a public hearing. Before we start the hearings, I'd like to request that the commissioners keep their microphones muted unless they wish to ask a question. Thank you. And Cheryl said that she wanted to have a report of the
Preservation Awards.
I spoke with Jessica at the next town council meeting, which is this Thursday. She will be announcing Mr. Alessandro's recipient of the award. And at next Thursday's meeting, Mrs. Atlas will be receiving a Town of Barnstable commendation from the town manager. I don't know how that happened. That's all I know.
Madam Chair.
Yes.
I just want to remind you to take roll call of the.
Oh, sorry, I will.
But also, if I could just say that the town council is going to be handing Mrs. Atlas a certificate of recognition at the council meeting. Thank you.
Thank you.
Jessica, can I ask for a clarification?
Can I take roll call first, please?
Sure.
Nancy Shoemaker?
Here.
Marilyn Fifield? George Jessup?
I'm present, yes.
Cheryl Powell?
Present.
Nancy Clark?
Here.
Jack Kay?
Here.
Barbara DiBiase?
I'm here.
Fran Parks present. Yes, Cheryl.
Jessica, I just wanted a clarification. Thank you so much for that. Is it the one with the town council? That's the one from the town council, is it not? Or is that the one from the BHC? Because they were both voted on last time.
It's from the town council. I was going to recognize her at the January 5th meeting.
Excellent.
But that meeting was canceled.
Oh,
And I was subsequently informed by the president of the council that he's put together a recognition for her.
That's fabulous. Thank you so much, the town council. And so to clarify, Fran, you said that the next meeting, Mr. Alessandro is going to receive the award and the town council on the Thursday is going to do the other. We actually voted that both BHC would do both awards.
I'm just telling you what was decided at the level of the town council. So
has that award been taken away from Ms. Atlas?
I don't know, Cheryl.
No, it has not. And I will mention it too at the meeting. However, she's going to be recognized prior to me, handing the BHC recognition.
Oh, excellent. Okay, I understand what you're saying. So it is both of them that are going to be at the other one. Thank you so much for that clarification. I'd like the honor of supplying flowers for that if it's possible, but I can call you on that and see if that would be acceptable or not.
Thank you. So our first application is Osterville Property Holdings 1 LLC 186 Windswept Way, Osterville, map 052, parcel 002/000, built circa 1933. A request for a full demolition to demolish the main structure. Who is here to?
Okay, I thought that we were doing you had agreed to change things around on the award thing. Okay, guess not.
We just did that.
Okay, probably misunderstanding. If we
could you please could you raise your hand, please, if you wish to speak and not just interrupt? Thank you. Who's here to speak to the Osterville property holdings?
Good afternoon, Madam Chair. Michael Gill here, along with Arlene Wilson.
So this is a continuance. Do you have any new information for us, or?
Yes, ma'am. We do. We had some, since our last meeting, our last hearing rather, was in October. At the time, the commission asked for some additional information, and we went back to the drawing board with the architect and talked to them for a bit. Also talked to some abutters and locals about the project generally. As you know, I'm not going to repeat the application. As you know, the structure was built in 1933. It's a big brick structure with a total of 3 abutters, one to the north, which is the applicant's mom, one to the south, and one to the east, which is the Oyster Harbors Club. Okay. Since then, we've received letters from some of those folks, as well as some other interested parties, that these are part of the submissions that is online, that has been submitted to the Historical Commission. One letter is from Carol Zace. Carol is a resident of Katuitt. She's also the granddaughter of the original owner, T.K. Boyd. She spoke at the October hearing. At the time, her testimony was simply that while she had great memories of the property, that it was outdated, and that she had no objection to it being demolished, and that the owner should be able to make it useful for his family's use. The letter says essentially the same thing, so I won't go too into that. We also have a letter from the abutters to the south. That's Sonia Kelly and Steve Tordone. These abutters, because Windswept Way goes past Locust and over to their place, they would be the ones most impacted by any construction impacts, whether it's demolition, renovation, et cetera. They also have no objection to the demolition. I think there are 2 main points where, one, that the new structure be more befitting to Cape Cod architecture and the neighborhood. This structure in particular, it's an old brick structure, kind of a Tudor type that's very atypical for Cape Cod architecture. She also, she and her husband, Steve, they also were very concerned with any possible effort to relocate the structure. Simply, Windswept Way could not handle the heavy equipment that would be necessary to make that happen. Okay. In addition, one of the abutters is the Oyster Harbors Club. On the opposite side of Windswept Way is the 11th green and the 12th tee. Unless you're looking for the property, you can't see it. It's not really visible from the Oyster Harbors Club. But the question was asked to the general manager and to the president whether they had any objection to the demolishing of the structure, whether they, in their opinion, deemed it to have any significance historically or architecturally to the club. The conclusion of the general manager, Doug Mayo, in his letter was that they did not object to demolition, and their only kind of big concern, again, was the same voiced by the other abutter, and that was that Windswept Way and the private road and ways at Oyster Harbors could not really handle a relocation of the property, even if it was cut into several sections. Also, we have a letter from George Jamgochian, he is an Oyster Harbors resident. He is also a member of the club, and he is also a member of Oyster Harbors Services. A lot of people don't. A lot of people don't understand the 3 entities that operate on Oyster Harbors. One is a homeowners association. One is the club, which is the golf course, the restaurant, the tennis courts, and the other is Oyster Harbor Services, which they take care of the roads, essentially the gatehouse, the mail house, the windmill, all those types of things. He had a lot to say in his letter. I won't repeat it here, but he questioned both the historical and architectural significance of the property as well as the former owner. But he also, in his capacity as president of Oyster Harbor Services, voiced an objection to the relocation of the property when I spoke to him. And this is also consistent with David Dangler Muir, who's on the first hearing, who he had several concerns about the property, but one of those was, any attempt to relocate it. I think he characterized that as absurd. And then finally, and probably most relevant, we have a letter from the architect who has been studying this property for the better part of 6-8 months. Last time in our last hearing, I think, I don't recall if it was George or Jack, but they posed the question of wanting to hear from an architect who's kind of looked at the property with kind of an architectural lens. His letter has been submitted. Again, it's there. It speaks for itself. I think the main points are, first, the privacy of the location, being a gated community, and a structure that's barely visible at all, and that's only from the water, that it had there was no overwhelming public interest in preserving it. He also noted the home is just too large for the owner's intended use. His intention is not to subdivide, not to put additional houses on there. His intention at this time is to construct a smaller house that's modern, updated, and something that's usable for his family. The present structure is just too large. And then he also noted that relocating the home is just not feasible. And not just relocating it, but renovating it, because of basically everything. You'd have to start from scratch with everything. The wiring, the heating, the plumbing, all of it needs to be replaced. So those are the things that kind of, in answer to your question, Madam Chair, in terms of what has changed, it's just what has been submitted to the Historical Commission for your consideration. My client would like to proceed with the application to seek a demolition permit for 186 Windswept Way.
Great, thank you.
Thank you.
Is there any councilor comment?
Nancy Shoemaker.
Yes, Nancy.
Yeah, I feel bad that this rather unique building will be demolished, but I do understand that there's no way it could be moved. The first meeting that we had, that gentleman who I think was an abutter, but isn't anymore, you mentioned who he was. He had some powerful points, but we have, and I have read the letters that you've received since, and I hate to see it go, but I have a feeling a lot of why we have these hearings is to make sure the abutters, not just abutters, but the community knows what's about to happen. Because we've had some houses that were up for demo and the whole community was so upset, and luckily we put on a delay long enough for people to determine a different output. But yeah, I sadly think we might have to allow this.
Thank you, Nancy. Any other commissioner response?
Marilyn here.
Yes, Marilyn.
I can't vote in favor of demolition of a building that's likely, according to Sarah Korjeff, to be eligible for individual listing on the National Register. So I just wanted to register my opinion. Thanks.
Thank you. Anyone else? Well, I just, I think this, it's not where the property is located. I don't believe it's where people can see it or not. I think the importance of the property is the history of the property. And this is, if that gentleman hadn't purchased it, if Carol's grandfather hadn't come up and purchased the property and saved the Oyster Harbors Club, there might not be an Oyster Harbors Club. So I think it's I think it's significant for that. And I think it's, I think that's probably part of the history that's going to get lost because this house is going to be gone and people aren't going to remember what this gentleman did for Oyster Harbors. And the other thing I wanted to comment on was the fact that it's, quote, a brick house and not a, quote, Cape Cod house. This old brick house built in 1933 withstood the hurricanes of 38 and the much less worse hurricane of 44, apparently, because it's still standing. And, I suspect that a great many of the houses that are built today, if we had either of those severity of hurricanes, might not weather the storm as well as this house did. So that's all I have to say. Is there any public comment? Okay, I'll close the hearing. Can I have a motion to close the hearing?
So moved, Nancy Clark.
Thank you. A second?
I'll second it, George Jessup.
Thank you. So who would like to do the motions?
I can, Nancy Shoemaker, if you want.
Great, thank you, Nancy.
This is Osterville Property Holdings 1 LLC, 186 Windswept Way, Osterville, map 052, parcel 002/000, built circa 1933, full demolition to demolish the main structure. Can I just add that main structure, aren't you removing the entire brick structure? Even with hands on it, okay.
There's an accessory structure on the property. It's a bathhouse type thing. So that's the main structure means the dwelling.
Okay. Motion 1, I move that after review and consideration of public testimony, the application and associated materials, the significant building at 186 Windswept Way, Osterville is a preferably preserved significant building.
Is there a second?
I'll second Nancy Clark. Would you clarify, please, Chair, what an aye or a nay vote means?
Yes. An aye vote will impose an 18-month delay. A nay vote will not impose an 18-month delay.
Thank you.
Roll call. Nancy Clark?
Aye.
Nancy Shoemaker?
Nay, sadly.
Marilyn Fifield?
Marilyn's on mute.
Aye.
George Jessup?
Nay.
Cheryl Powell? Cheryl gone?
Cheryl's on mute also.
Cheryl? You're muted. Jack Kay?
Aye.
Aye. Cheryl? I think she's gone. She said she might leave early. And I vote aye. So is that 3 aye votes and 2 nays?
That's correct. Is it 3 aye?
I have four aye votes, 2 nay votes.
Yeah,
So
so it passes.
Correct. The motion carries. Majority of members present and voting.
so
So I guess we need another motion.
yes.
I move that in accordance with section 112(3)G, the Barnstable Historical Commission determines that the full demolition of the preferably preserved significant building located at 186 Windswept Way, Osterville, is detrimental to the historical, cultural, and architectural heritage or resources of the town.
Is there a second?
I'll second that, Nancy Shoemaker.
Roll call. Nancy Clark?
Aye.
Nancy Shoemaker?
Aye.
Marilyn Fifield?
Aye.
George Jessup?
Aye.
Cheryl Powell? Jack Kay?
Aye.
And I'm going to abstain. So,
Okay.
so
Can I just say to the owners and any representatives that you certainly can come back during that 18 months period and discuss it again, put in a motion for us to review it again.
Thank you, Ms. Shoemaker. We'll in fact think about that, and there's a good chance that that happens. Sometimes in these hearings, the applicant kind of gives the plans of what's going to be there next. We haven't done that because we just don't have plans yet. Okay, about what exactly is going to be there. We're not trying to be evasive. So as these plans continue to evolve, you have my word that we will keep the Historical Commission completely informed. And if something changes, we'd be back before you.
Okay, that would help. It's not mandatory, but it would help. Yeah.
And
We're happy to do that.
I would also like, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you, but to apologize to Gil. I was replying each time I was asked. I could hear, but every time I tried to unmute, it was not unmuting. So I've logged in completely again. So my apologies. My vote would have been to have abstained. Good luck to you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, all of you, for your time on this. Really appreciate it.
Thank you. The next is the Moore continuance, 50 Main Street, Hyannis, map 342, parcel 026, built 1866 to 1880. And do we have someone here to speak to that?
Seashore Homes is present, Deborah Mason and Dennis Mason.
Hi, good afternoon. So were you able to get the structural engineer report?
Mr. Moran, who is the owner of the property, we are, as you know, the contractor looking to develop the property. He declined accommodating the report.
Okay.
So, it's obvious. It's oh, there's Niall. Okay.
I'm here. So I did not decline accommodating the report. I declined paying for the report. That's your due diligence period. This has nothing to do with historic, but I certainly did not interrupt the option that they've requested. So that a bit incorrect, but I did decline paying for it. That is correct.
Thank you for the clarification.
Thank you. So commissioners.
Again, Nancy Shoemaker, Cheryl Powell and I were supposed to go and view the home, step foot on the property, walk around, and hopefully have some sense of what was going on in the interior of the house. And that meeting was either postponed or canceled on the part of the owner or the people who will be contracting the work. So it would be nice to have. It's always helpful if we can just see the interior of a home, look at a home. And very often we can see that there are things that cannot be easily remedied, and certainly that or the house structure report would have been very helpful.
This is Jack Kay, Commissioner Kay, and I was also supposed to see that house and didn't get a chance to see it.
I drove by it two different days, and it looks like some windows are somewhat left open, and that can happen with a demolition by neglect. But I wish we had seen the interior or a report. We could have had more information to work with.
I would also agree with Nancy. We were very happy to come along. And I also did a drive-by without going on the property, of course, and I did very much the same thing.
So to be clear in regards to that, the building I do not feel is safe to be gone through. If it were to the point where you said, hey, if we get the structural engineer to write up a report and they were willing to pay for said report, that'd be one thing. My fear and my discomfort here is you've requested the same thing 3 times. It's not been provided. This is the 3rd time, 3 months of time property. And we're right at square one from, I wasn't privy to the first meeting, so I did not know you had requested it, but the second one I certainly was, and heard that you requested the structural engineer report. And I would let people through, but my fear is I don't want it to negatively impact me. Should somebody go in with just an opinion that is not a builder or a structural engineer, because then that opinion could have weight on your decision in the wrong direction for me. So I don't want somebody's opinion. It makes more sense to me if a structural engineer is required for you guys to be comfortable, that you have that report in your hand while you walk through the property. So you can see, okay, well, this is pen to paper what somebody has said in regards to mold, in regards to beams, in regards to the entire structure and how unsound it is. You could have read the report before you walk through and say, okay, I am confirming this. Now I'm comfortable with tearing down the property or not. But I think we're working backwards here. If I just have people walk through that don't have a construction background, it could negatively impact the decision making. And then we've got to start this whole process over again. So that's my level of discomfort with just bringing people through, over and above the fact that there's mold in there. And so, I know that one gentleman had missed a meeting because of a hospital visit and his health isn't in the best. So I don't want somebody to go through there and be more unhealthy than walk through the properties. So there are multiple factors as to why I'm willing to let people go through, but I prefer not. I'd prefer it to be, if somebody wants to buy it and wants to tear it down, for them to go through what you had requested in regards to a structural engineer or whatever it is that you request. But that's not on me to do someone else's due diligence, which again, the contract portion of it has nothing to do with you. I understand and respect that. But if they want to say an opinion that may sway you to take down, I personally think the building is absolutely not salvageable, but it's for me to decide that. I think that it's had addition over addition, and the actual original portion of the structure makes it almost irrelevant considering the size. But that would be for somebody else to say, because, I'm biased, I want the property gone. So I wouldn't expect you to just trust me. And that's why you have 3 times requested another opinion that's not been provided. So if they want to weigh in on this, that's fine as well.
Thank you.
Are you ready to have motions made?
Excuse me.
Citizens want to speak.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, if I could, just a quick background is which I originally in the first meeting. First off, I'm a licensed construction supervisor, unrestricted license for 30 plus years in Massachusetts. I've built properties from one end of this country to the other in just about every major city in this United States, every type of construction. I voiced in the first meeting that I had gone through the building along with the owner and that it was not salvageable and it needed to be taken down. I am a professional. I have testified in court as a professional and nobody seemed to pay attention to that. You wanted somebody else to do it. I am an outside party, a third party. You just heard from the owner. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other commissioner comment? Any public comment? Okay, could I have a motion to close the hearing, please?
So moved. Nancy Clark.
Is there a second?
If this is not going to get approved for demolition, then I would request we either put a hold on it. I do not want anything to negatively impact me as the seller going forward. So I don't want it to have had a postponement, and I apologize. I don't know the verbiage that you use, but in the last meeting just before this, I know you imposed an 18-month hold on it. I would prefer this application be paused if you're going to not approve the demolition of this building. I do not want anything to negatively impact me if I put it back on the market, or if these people just move forward, negatively impact them as well. So I'd either, if you guys are willing to demolish the building, then great, let's go forward. But if not, I'm requesting that this application be paused.
Well, the only way we'll be able to, can we do a poll? Is that allowed of the commission?
At this point, yes, we could do a straw vote, but at this point, it seems after 3 months that maybe we should move ahead.
I'll just also note, I mean, technically here, the Masons are the applicant and they are proceeding with the authorization of the owner. And it appears what's happening here is the owner is withdrawing his authorization for the Masons to proceed with this application and asking for a withdrawal.
Uh-huh.
I'm not necessarily, if it's something you feel as though is going to go forward, it's a double-edged sword, because if it's something that go forward, great. Then I'd love to sell it to the Masons. I know they do beautiful homes. I'd love for them to accomplish that goal. But if that's not going to happen here, I don't want it to negatively impact me. Whereas down the road, somebody's willing to do what was requested. So this is a very fine line here that I'm not comfortable with. So if it's something that you guys have seen the structure is deplorable and all of these things and you're willing to allow it to be torn down, fine. But if the vote is a no before that hammer hits, yes, I'm withdrawing the application. So I'd love opinions on it. If it can go forward, that would just make life easier. But the goal isn't to make life easier. It's to get this done the correct way.
Thank you.
Frank, can I just say something to Mr. Moran? I appreciate you wanting to go through the process. And one problem is we have not seen pictures of the interior or a survey, and we've not been allowed to get on the property. So you can kind of understand where we're, I don't think we have a right to just let it happen, since we haven't had any evidence shown to us.
I'm in agreement with that. And it's an important building that is still kind of what's left of that area.
So the option would be for the applicants to withdraw their application.
If you're suggesting it would not go forward and it's not going to get an approval, then if that's what the majority is implying, then yes, I would withdraw. I'm not going to have it negatively impact the property.
Well, I can't guarantee you that it's going to get a negative outcome with the committee vote. But if you want to guarantee that it doesn't, then the withdrawing would be I think the most reliable way to prevent that.
So then, Dennis, I'm contractually obligated to you. How would you like to proceed? And may I also ask in advance before Dennis speaks, if this does get shut down, then what are my options down the road? I'm not looking to wait 18 months to put it on the market, and I would assume that somebody else would be willing to spend the money. So if somebody or myself down the road is willing to spend the money and have this opinion done and come back to you, are we able to do that easily, or is it a long process after that, or a more difficult process?
No, I mean, if you make a good faith attempt to either, get another person interested in the property, someone who wants to move the property, someone else who wants to buy and rehabilitate the property, and you made a good faith attempt in advertising that and making that known, you don't have to wait 18 months to come back to us.
As the Masons have implied it before, this property was for sale several times and multiple investors, and everybody had looked at it in the past and deemed it unsalvageable. But that's just, you can't take our word for it, is what you've suggested at the other meeting, and that's why you requested the structural engineer. So hear what you're saying. It's just steps haven't been taken. So, I'd kind of like the majority opinion on it before I withdraw the application, because then that's additional steps that have to be.
That's not really works.
That's not how we,
All right. So I guess at this point, I'll leave it up to Dennis if he wants to proceed or not. So that's what I'll do. And then I'll have to sweep up the mess if it goes in the wrong direction.
Yes, just to kind of follow up on that, we have now for 3 months, we originally went into this in good faith to try to get an answer as to whether or not this property was a tear down or not, which we felt that it was. I walked the property, reviewed it. I even reviewed it with the owner. He agreed with me. And
Do we have Sam?
and I've been a professional in the industry for many, many, many years. And I've been on commissions and boards and so forth, and publicly testified as a defendant for others. And this is the last little property there, which you're surrounded by housing, multifamily on one side. HAC has no problem with this being taken down. On the other side, you have Cape Cod Healthcare, which is the hospital across the street. You have Dr. Mark Fader. He has no issue. He has another building over there. You're surrounded by all hospital and multifamily properties. No one has any issue with this. The town wants housing. And we were there in good faith to try to make this thing work. We presented exactly what we intended to do with the property and how we're going to do it. This is not our first property in the Barnstable, in Hyannis itself, that we've developed. We do good work. We turn out a good product. We try to keep our rents low so that we can help the people in the street out there. That's all I can say is that, folks, quite frankly, structurally would make no difference at all. What you've said already is that based on a structural report, you would look into it. You didn't say if you got a structural report that says tear it down, that you would allow it to be torn down. You've not said that at all. So if you're saying if you get a structural report from someone that says that it's not a good structure, it needs to come down, then you'll vote to have it torn down or demolished. I'll go pay for the money, but that isn't typically how it's done just for the commission. But anyway.
I don't think you understand quite what our job is here. Our job is to protect old homes. That's it. And this is an antique cape, I believe, in my opinion, that has, well, that gives the appearance of being an antique cape that obviously has had many additions to. So,
nobody, only one person's even seen the property out of the whole committee.
No,
one knows what it looks like. Even
many of us have driven by. We only could do that because we weren't given permission to be on it. And also the structural report.
You could have walked around the site and seen what the building was like.
We weren't told we could do that. And the formal meeting we were supposed to have on Saturday, wasn't it, Cheryl? Friday or Saturday? Friday.
Yes,
was canceled. But, the structural report is just something that we do normally ask for. And very often it's obvious, from a registered surveyor that the building has major issues. And we're not here to deny anybody anything. We are here to protect buildings if they can be protected. But if they can't, we certainly, you've been through a few meetings now. You see how we certainly allow people to demolish, but do it with some thought and having the applicant give us the information. We just haven't been given enough information. We know nothing but what we can glean of driving by, and that's not a good way to handle a decision.
I can further clarify that. I can further clarify that for you. The meeting was set for 9:00 on Friday, and we were very happy to go. We're going, to meet there. The procedure is we can go on the property only at the with the permission of the owner, or yourselves. We cannot just go to a property, especially if a meeting's been canceled. It was my understanding that it wasn't canceled and then said, but please feel free to come by and walk around the property. The most we can do, because we can't, it's kind of an invasion of privacy to go onto somebody's property without their knowledge on it. So we have to maintain that level of respect to all applicants and indeed to all residents. So I wish you'd been told that please go ahead and come by anyway. I know I would have done it.
But typically, if that's a property that has somebody inside of it, but this has been a vacant property for years. So, this is a different horse.
Well, sir,
Sorry, folks. And you really have, you have not done your job because no one has gotten out there in 3 months. You still have not gotten out there to even walk around the property. I don't
Yes,
think
sir, I have. I got out there in the rain and walked part of the property
Okay, so we have one person that's been out
after
there.
my doctor's appointment. Yes. So,
and the
that's
rest
good.
of us, I did not because we were told we should not come.
I also did not because we were told.
okay. So I think we've beat this to death.
Yeah.
So does someone want to do motions?
I'll do it.
Did I close the hearing? I did, didn't I?
No.
No? So can I have a motion to close the hearing?
So moved. Nancy Clark.
Is there a second?
Nancy Shoemaker.
Thank you. Roll call. Nancy Clark,
Aye.
Nancy Shoemaker,
Aye.
Marilyn Fifield,
Aye.
George Jessup,
George?
George,
I'm muted. Sorry. Aye.
Cheryl Powell,
Abstain.
Jack Kay,
Aye.
Fran Parks, aye. All right, does someone want to do motions?
I will. Nancy Shoemaker. Niall Moran at 50 Main Street, Hyannis, map 342, parcel 026, built 1866 and through 1880, inventoried full demolition to demolish the structure. Motion 1, I move that after review and consideration of public testimony, the application and associated materials, the significant building at 50 Main Street, Hyannis is a preferably preserved building.
Nancy Clark. Aye.
No, is there a second?
That was the second.
Oh, okay. An aye vote will impose an 18-month delay. A nay vote will not impose an 18-month delay. Roll call. Nancy Clark,
Aye.
Nancy Shoemaker,
Aye.
Marilyn Fifield,
Aye.
George Jessup,
Nay.
Cheryl Powell,
Abstain.
Jack Kay,
Aye.
Fran Parks, aye.
Can I still cancel this application, please?
Nope. It's
No.
too late.
Too late, sorry.
Motion 1 passes. All right.
But
We
you
had the passing, right?
Yes.
Okay.
I apologize. Point of order. This is Kate Maldonado. I'm covering for Elizabeth at this meeting and just trying to fill in. I've heard that the owner of the property has requested the withdrawal, and then it seemed like he referenced the opinion of the applicant. But maybe if the owner can confirm whether he would formally like to request the withdrawal, because my understanding is that it went back to the applicants.
Oh, we've already voted.
Yeah.
But I did ask for Dennis's opinion, and then you guys went straight to it. Didn't get.
Good catch, Kate. I would agree with that. That's why I was abstaining.
And it sounds like the applicant would like to proceed with the vote. I would just like some clarity as to whether you would like to proceed with this vote or request the withdrawal so that we can.
And we just had the vote, and we were the applicants, and we were representing the owner. So that application is from us.
That's correct.
So, okay, we were representing the owner. Okay?
Can I just ask something? I think you've got a point there. The question I would have is if you are representing the owner,
Yeah.
that I think Kate has a point.
The motion lists Niall Moran as the applicant. The motion does.
Yes. Well, not adhering to your request 3 months in a row is not fulfilling the application best interest or anybody's best interest. So I would like it withdrawn because my best interest at no point have been met. And that's I'm not familiar with this process, and that's why I'm asking these random questions throughout. I apologize, but it's become obvious to me that this will negatively impact me, and I'd like it withdrawn. That's why I wanted Dennis's final opinion to see if he was able to persuade something or give some new advice or evidence that would allow this to be torn down. I didn't hear it, so I'd prefer this be withdrawn.
And the point is that you are the one that's listed on there as the applicant. I think if we do not go according to that, then I think we would have to at least pause it and request a clarification from legal.
Cheryl, let's not forget, and Kate, let's not forget, we didn't take a straw vote. We took a real vote. There was nothing to provide us with anything else. We did the vote. We already voted that we would impose the 18-month delay. We're just at the finalizing of that vote, and I fail to understand how anybody can stop a motion when it's in the middle of things.
Correct.
I don't understand that. And it wasn't stopped by.
No.
I asked for the purchaser's opinion. I asked him to speak one more time, and then I was not given the opportunity to speak again. I'm trying how to use this application here. So I apologize. I'm not very tech savvy. The last meeting, I was flailing my hands back and forth trying to get your attention. I did not know there was a button to push to speak. So I'm trying to figure this out. I apologize, but we're not in a live meeting where I can just get your attention. This is something that I don't know the process of, one, and two, I don't know the technical process of computer application.
So,
Can I speak to this?
Cheryl, no.
Go ahead, Joy. Cheryl's not allowed to speak.
I think the applicant, I think everybody's confused as to what our vote is about. What we're saying is we're not approving demolition, but we're not saying you can't. What we're saying is we need some more time to think about it. We want 18 months to do so. And should you feel that you have enough information to sway us one way or the other, you are permitted to apply for to appear before this commission and present that information, whether it's a structural engineer's report or other credited people making a written report to us to explain the damage, the demolition need. We are not saying you can't tear it down. We're not saying that you can tear it down. We're saying we need 18 months more, or you need to provide more information to us. That's all the vote is. Thank you.
What you're saying is perfectly clear and understandable. What I'm saying is I, as the owner of the property, if this does not happen with Dennis, need to market it and have full disclosure to any other potential buyer. And I have to let them know there is, in fact, an 18-month hold on it. I have to deal with the facts only. So if it's not there, to me, that's a negative sales pitch if I have to sell the property, as opposed to this is what they've requested. They're open to it, but is a lot easier for me. And because something's been requested 3 times in a row, the first time I wasn't privy to, the second time I was, and it didn't happen. This is the 3rd meeting. So I'm requesting that I don't be negatively impacted because a purchaser didn't do their due diligence, which is what's about to happen. So I prefer either put on.
Excuse me, Mr. Moran, I'm going to raise a point of order. I'm going to suggest that we hold this and see if we can get one of the town attorneys to give us a decision about, how far we've come in the voting, and as to whether or not we can, make a motion to rescind the vote, or, we need to continue.
Actually,
Fran, if I may.
Go ahead, and I would like to say something, even though I've been told I can't. Go ahead, because I think I have a solution for it.
But Kate.
Yeah, thank you. Point of order. So I appreciate everyone's patience. I was waiting to see what the owner, who is the applicant, would like to do as a final step. So if the commission would like, you may take the person who defined the original motion for the 18th month may withdraw that in a second, and then we may proceed to motion to withdraw this applicant as per the owner's request.
I would agree. I was going to suggest that we did either that or that what we could do is make a motion to reopen it and to do that. But yes, thank you very much.
Thank you. So would the person who presented this motion make a motion to withdraw their motion, and then we'll need a second?
I will do that, Nancy Shoemaker. I move that we withdraw the motion of voting on the full demolition to demolish the structure at 50 Main Street, Hyannis, map 342, parcel 026, build 1866 to 1880.
Second.
Roll call. Nancy Clark.
I'm baffled here. How can, we've already voted on that particular motion. How can we recall that for another vote? I don't understand.
Neither do I.
There are two ways to do it, and Kate's got an excellent one there. I think we're in the middle of roll call.
Nancy Shoemaker.
Aye.
Marilyn Fifield.
Aye.
George Jessup.
Aye.
Cheryl Powell.
I also say aye, and we need to go back to Nancy Clark because I don't think she actually said anything other than the question. If we can find out what she is, please.
We're voting to rescind the
Jack
original
Kay.
application out.
Jack.
Aye.
Nancy.
Hasn't voted, yeah.
She hasn't voted, no.
Nancy, are you abstaining?
Yes, I am.
Thank you. And I will abstain, and the motion passes. So we need a motion to allow withdrawal by the applicant of the application.
I'll make that motion that we allow the applicant to make his request of the commission.
Is there a
Yeah.
second?
Yes, go ahead.
Is there a second, please?
I'll second for the purpose of the vote.
Thank you.
So I appreciate it.
Please, Mr. Moore, we're voting. Thank you.
Well, doesn't he have to officially ask
That's-
for?
Yes, he does.
He did, didn't he?
You said I need to, so that's what I was doing. So just let me, if I need to, then yes, that is my request point. And
Thank
I,
you.
as in the future, any other applicant will come better prepared per your request. Thank you.
Roll call. Nancy Clark.
Nay.
Nancy Shoemaker.
Aye.
Marilyn Fifield.
Aye.
George Jessup.
Aye.
Cheryl Powell.
Aye.
Jack Kay. Jack.
You're muted, Jack.
Aye. Jack says aye.
Fran Parks, I'm abstaining. And the applicant had already requested a letter prior to me starting. Thank you very much. Okay. So can we move on to 192 School Street, Katuitt, map 020, parcel 60068, built circa 1914, not inventoried. Who's here for 192 School Street, please?
Peter Kimball for the applicant, along with Sandra Janes at Rule Janes Architects.
Hi there. And I also have Will Rule here with me as well.
192 School Street in Katuitt.
Correct.
Yeah.
We're happy to walk through the presentation materials.
Please.
Can I get permission to share my screen?
Yes.
You're all set, Erica. Thank you.
Show me 192 School Street in Katuitt.
Thanks for revisiting this with us. We provided one extra context photo. If we could go back 2 slides real quickly. We just wanted to point out the general locale in which this house is located here with the Lewis Pond behind. And the photo taken on the left is at the pond shore sort of the furthest extent of the property itself. So just pointing out the exterior from a perhaps more
193 School Street, Katuitt.
Here's a map of 193 School Street, Katuitt, Massachusetts, 0263.
Great. So I hope this context is helpful. We can continue.
Yes, please continue.
So the scope of demolition is the same as before. I think we had a lot of helpful commentary on some of the proposed components of the design. So I think we can continue to that. So I think the key takeaways last time were certainly related to the style of the windows, particularly on the street front facade, the historic sort of center bones of the structure there, the 1914 structure, if we keep going. Here we go. So yeah, so on the street front facade shown on the lower portion of this page, there was some helpful commentary about sort of the localized symmetry on the facade. Previously, we had suggested offsetting the entryway in order to provide better accessibility for the aging owners of this home. But we did find a way to sort of manipulate the plan where there was a tight spot with the stairwell. And instead, we put the entrance back into the original location and just pulled it forward enough in order to get the necessary turn radius once you enter inside that door to get around that little tight nook at the end of the stair. We also, I know there was concern about especially the horizontal high up windows that we had assigned to the screen left side of the facade. In lieu of those, we have included these, I think, proportionally more, a little bit more vertical, smaller, but still vertical windows. And the owners, I think we did talk about this last time, but the owners do have pretty ambitious landscaping plans for the area in front of this window zone. So it's not going to be left as empty facade. There's some roses and hydrangeas and other like fairly substantial plantings that they have envisioned there. On the other side, we have again tried to preserve, some balance on that facade, and we've gone back and put muntins in on all these street facade windows, just to be a little bit more in keeping with some of the commentary that we got last time. Just to round out the rest of the design discussion, on the rear facade, the owners were very concerned with, so they do not typically use air conditioning, and so their ventilation concerns came back to us pretty strongly. They envision venting this rear sort of porch-like area through these windows that we had designed and getting as much airflow as possible with the prevailing winds and such. So, or breezes, I guess you would say. So that's how this facade has sort of landed in this place. And again, we provided the context just to clarify that this rear facade is not really visible sort of in the greater context of some of the neighboring properties. Then I guess we can continue. I think, is that the last sheet? There wasn't a whole lot of commentary on the side elevations where there's hedges that are sort of a couple of feet away, and we're really replacing windows or putting windows in slightly different locations that match the configurations of windows that were already existing. So, I think that might be the last sheet. Happy to Sarah, do you have anything to add?
Well, just that these two side elevations that are visible right now, those are from previous late 80s, late 1980s additions. Those are not part of the original house.
Yeah.
If that matters.
Yeah. Happy to answer any questions.
The focus since the last meeting was primarily on the street front, so the school street side, trying to center the doors on the original house, even though the previous additions were slightly different sizes.
Yeah, exactly.
And in adding muntins.
Well, I'm sure, as you know, the sister to this house is one house away from you.
Yeah.
Yeah. Any comments by the commissioners?
May we look at the south side proposed again? This is Nancy Clark.
It's on the next page, actually. One more. Apologies. There we go, at the bottom of this page.
Okay, it's the north. I guess it was the north side I wasn't concerned about. May I ask a question, Madam Chair?
Yes, you may.
I note the fenestration hasn't changed on the lake side. It still has no. It's from some strange period, but it is not from the original period of the house.
So is there some reason not to have the mullions on the back of the house, especially on the second story?
Yeah, I mean, I think the rear of the house has always been, and is currently very much about the view of the pond. And so that was very much the owner's priority, just to not obstruct that view. So that's what we're
but mullions really don't block the view, if I might say so.
Can we, this is Peter Kimball, can show the existing photo from the rear and also the current rear elevations?
Yeah.
So, there's a screen porch and some crazy lattice and whatnot back there now.
The next photo, or next page actually, the rear elevation existing, if we continue further. Thank you. So there is a little bit of an odd combination of windows on that second story up there. So, a couple of them do have the muntins, one does not. So it's a little bit of a mix on the back there.
But there certainly are mullions.
On some of the windows, yes.
There certainly are mullions.
That's correct.
On two of the windows, that is absolutely correct.
Yes.
And two of so that the rear portion, the shed roof dormer that was built at some point, not original. You're absolutely correct.
Yeah.
That two of those windows have muntins in them, in the center window in the bathroom.
There's 6/6, I think.
Yeah.
Looks like
and the existing, like Peter was saying, the existing porch, that also is not original, and those are fixed panels that I believe are removed at every.
Yeah, like many houses, they're kind of a little bit.
They're storm windows. Seasonal
and whatnot, but yeah.
Yeah, all these houses have an interesting history.
Yeah.
For sure.
That's why we're all here, right? Yeah.
So, I think it is, you're absolutely, whoever said that, looking through muntins is not a big deal. And when we talked to our clients about it, they wanted floor to ceiling glass and nothing in between them and the beautiful pond that's down below them. and so really it's their subjective opinion that having Muntins would bother them to look through. And they were hoping that this commission could see that since that existing porch is not historic, it's not original, and since the addition is obviously not historic or original, that they could get what they wanted. We're in charge of saying yes to the front side of the house, and we want to make you guys happy on the back side of the
I
house.
like what you did to the front side. I have no problem with what you did there. I think
That was our goal, is to make you as happy as we can, but also to make our clients.
But I'm not happy at the lack of mullions on the lakes.
Okay. Thank you.
Well, Peter Kimball again, nobody can see the back of this house. There isn't a neighbor that can see it, unless you're a squirrel.
Is there nobody who goes out on the pond in their little boats?
I don't know who goes on the pond in their little boats.
They go on the pond in the little boats, and in the wintertime, they skate on the pond.
That's what I would expect.
Nobody's skated on that pond in 10 years. It hasn't frozen.
I skated on that pond. So, and I don't, I was of an age that didn't pay much attention to the back of houses. So,
Can we discuss the front again, please? Is that a rectangular flat roof projection proposed for the front of the house, the north elevation?
No, it's sloped.
Doesn't look it in the drawing.
Look at the elevation.
It's all one flat facade.
No, look at the
Where's
side
the break?
elevation.
Show me the side elevation that shows there's a break.
On the new drawings.
Here we go.
It's still a flat roof.
On the back side, you're correct. On the street side, which is the bottom, the right side of the bottom drawing, that shows the profile of the roof facing the street. We're just continuing that over the front door area to tie the two sides together.
Show me the proposed front elevation, please. I see proposed north. Proposed south is the front street elevation, is it?
That's correct.
Yes.
yes.
Yeah.
All right, it's the north that I was confusing with the south. So you're not changing the dormers on the second floor?
No.
Okay. You are putting in Victorian windows rather than Greek Revival or Colonial.
I mean, I think we were trying to add that texture that I think helps bring those windows to scale while respecting the owner's, I think we all understand the owner's desire, and I think they're trying to be flexible on this facade. And so that was where we landed with this configuration.
Any other comment by commissioners?
Peter Kimball, can I make one more suggestion on the rear elevation?
Sure.
If the commission wanted to, it certainly would not look out of character to add mullions to the three windows on the dormer, the kitchen window, which is actually in the screen porch, and the bedroom window on the right of the rear elevation. But the picture windows that are in the family room to the left there are the ones that the owners most certainly would prefer not to have mullions on those if that was a requirement for approval. I don't know what Sandra and Will think about that, but
Well, I think upstairs, those upstairs windows on the street side, they'll have muntins. So I think having muntins to match those on the back side wouldn't be a big.
Yeah, having those 2/2, which match the front.
Is that, those are casement windows you have on the second floor?
For egress reasons, yes. Those are bedrooms, so.
Well, a double hung of 20 by 24 SAG meets the code for access.
They're not big enough to do that.
They're unfortunately quite small.
For midget.
What about is there any other access in each room? Or is that the only form of access?
Those are the only, yeah.
Those are the only egress windows?
Yeah.
Okay. But you can still put mullions on casement windows.
We could, yes.
Look like a double hung.
Yeah.
They're internally applied and they replicate what you have on the front with a meeting rail a little heavier than the mountain bars above and below.
Correct.
Yeah, and putting the mullions into the bedroom window would be fine as well. I understand the other 2 windows, and I won't fight on those, but I want the rest of them to have mullions.
Muntins, Nancy, are the window dividers. Mullions are the casing. For instance, that's a 3 mullion window on the proposed south elevation.
Thank you for the correction, George.
Well, I confused that for years, so I understand. I always have to think it's a mulled pair, so the pair have a common mullion. I have to go back to that all the time. So we have not changed the ventilation of those picture windows in the family room, I gather. You're still going to use a casement window that's eccentric in size. I did mention the last time that you could get a picture window that was hinged at the top and swung out at the bottom like an awning window. And those are in rather large sizes available for ventilation. They are also operable by electric motors so that they can be closed if the rain starts while the owners are not present. I don't know whether you looked for those windows or not.
We talked about a number of options with the homeowners, and they wanted us to keep this configuration because they had already figured out how they wanted to furnish the insides.
And we did run through a number of offerings from the window manufacturer, and we just didn't find the right product. So the size is a little unique, and it was tricky, and the owners felt very strongly about the operation. So we were hearing them out on this one.
So what is the mullion in that casement picture window combination? What color is that? Is that the continuation of the perimeter trim color? You don't have a casing, but you do have a trim at the edge of the window. Is that all one color, or?
Yes.
All one color.
So the mullion in the center does not disappear visually. It's as prominent as the perimeter casing or the perimeter, the window perimeter.
It's the same color as the window. Yeah.
Okay. Any further commission comment on this project? Any public comment? So let me recap. We approve the changes to the front of of the building and of 192 School Street. And we're going to ask the owners to put muttons in the 3 windows in the back of the house.
And
Yes.
the lower bedroom window, Fran.
In the lower bedroom window.
They can be similar to the ones at the front.
Yes.
Okay.
So I'm going to close the public hearing. Do I have a motion to do that?
So moved, Nancy Clark.
Is there a second?
Seconded, George Jessup.
Nancy Shoemaker.
Want me to read the motion?
No, vote to close the public hearing.
Oh, yes.
Marilyn Fifield,
Aye.
George Jessup,
Hey,
Cheryl Powell,
Aye.
Nancy Clark,
Aye.
Jack Kay,
Aye.
Fran Parks, aye. So, all right, who'd like to make the motions for 192 School Street?
I'll do it. Nancy Shoemaker.
thank you.
192 School Street, Katuitt, map 020, parcel 068, built circa 1914. Partial demolition, remove existing bay windows and front porch, removal of wall for new additions, remove rear bay window and rear deck / porch, window replacements and alterations as discussed today at this meeting, with the alterations as discussed today.
Is there a second?
I'll second, Nancy Clark. And the windows that we discussed today are on the north elevation.
Okay. An aye vote will impose an 18-month delay. A nay vote will not impose an 18-month delay. Roll call. Nancy Shoemaker,
Nay.
Marilyn Fifield,
Nay.
George Jessup,
Hey,
Cheryl Powell,
Nay.
Nancy Clark,
Nay.
Jack Kay,
Nay.
Fran Parks, nay. Okay.
All right,
Yes.
I move that in accordance with section 112-3, am I doing the right one, right?
Yes.
The Barnstable Historical Commission determines that the partial demolition of the building located at 192 School Street, Katuitt, is not detrimental to the historical, cultural, or architectural heritage or resources of the town.
I'll second, Nancy Clark.
An aye vote determines that the partial demolition of the single-family structure is not detrimental. No demolition delay imposed. Nancy Shoemaker,
Aye.
Marilyn Fifield,
Aye.
George Jessup,
aye.
Cheryl Powell,
Aye.
Nancy Clark,
Aye.
Jack Kay,
Aye.
Fran Parks, aye. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
It's a
All right.
great street.
Right.
One of the nicest streets in the Cape.
I'm gonna murder this name, but the next motion, the next hearing is for the D. Hishvaras, Courtney and Paul, 15 Hyannis Avenue, Hyannis map 287, parcel 118, built circa 1946, full demolition of the structure. Is there someone here to speak to this?
I'm sorry, Mr. Clark, I accidentally muted you when I was trying to unmute you. If you could unmute again.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay, Gordon Clark from Northside Design Associates, representing the Hecheverias. It's a photograph of the existing house. This house has been added on to a number of times since it was built in 1946, to the point where it's pretty much, the structure is unrecognizable from what was originally there. You can see from the photographs, it was a rather smallish house to begin with. It was added on starting in 1980, let's see, I've got a list of them here. I think there was an addition here. My list here. Oh, I'm having trouble finding this list of the actual dates. I think there were like 5 separate additions and remodeling permits that were pulled on this house since it was originally constructed. The report that we found on this house said that because of the amount of changes that were made to it, it says the property has essentially been in the family since 1950, as I understand it. It was built in 46. And the additions and alterations were added to it. The current house has, trying to read this, it's pretty small print here I'm looking at. Apologize to the board here. Yeah, the current house, it does right now. It has some issues. There is a pond in the back of it. There are some issues with water in the basement at different times of the year. Structure is in the historical inventory, but is considered non-contributing due to the amount of alterations and modifications. It's lost its original historic signature. The family would like to demolish the house. It's not because of its condition or structural integrity or anything of that sort, other than the fact that there is some issues with the water in the basement. Because of the additions that have been done to the house over the years, it's rather disjointed. The layout of the floor plan, there are rooms, and then there's like inside there is a kind of for lack of a better description, a bridge that goes from one side to the other. It's open and underneath. The bedrooms are kind of on one side, then the other side. It's a hodgepodge, so to speak. It's in reasonably good condition, but they would like to tear the house down and put in its place a shingle style house more in keeping with Hyannisport, with a separate 2-car garage. And the footprint of the current house is about 2,900 square feet. We have been doing some rough drawings and just a footprint layout, hoping that they would be able to achieve a demolition on the house. And we're coming up with about a 2,500 square foot footprint. So the house that would replace this would be a little bit smaller in footprint than what is currently there. Because of the wetland setbacks, it also would have to be more compact and pulled in away from the wetlands that are in the back. So essentially that's, I do have some other photographs of the existing house that were taken, or actually I have one photograph I could share if the board would like to see that, of the house in the 70s. Would the board like me to try to share
please.
that?
Yes.
Okay. Let me see what I can do if I can pull that up and then share the screen. Bear with me for a minute here. Oh, I'm having problems pulling this photograph up. I apologize. I thought I would be able to do that.
Maybe we should move on.
Yeah.
Yeah. Certainly would entertain any questions from the board or anything that I could maybe help.
Are there any questions from the commissioners?
May I speak? It's Nancy Clark.
Yes.
I am at a loss as to why they don't just partially demolish so that they can get something that suits their current needs, but still keep a goodly portion of the building, since there don't seem to be any other real reasons except this isn't the building we want anymore.
What they would like to do is actually, it would be very difficult to get them what they need in the way of square footage and layout, because we have a very narrow footprint. They're trying to take advantage of the views that are available from that site. If you're familiar with that, there's a very narrow view facing the harbor. There is another view that faces the east. There's another view of the water on that side over there. And with the footprint, because of the wetlands that we're left with that we can utilize, reconfiguring there wouldn't be a whole lot of what's there, and what's there underneath all of that. Again, poor foundation, water problems with that. We would have to raise things up. We want to raise that up and put a new foundation underneath the structure. So it's pretty impractical. And there is, at this point, what's left of the house is all underneath what's there. In other words, the existing house has been added on to so many times that it's just a mishmash. It doesn't appear. It was built in 1946, and there's no physical presence of the existing house that hasn't been covered up with an addition. They changed the windows in it. They added bay windows. There's porches and patios in the back. And as you can see on the photographs, if you want to go bring the photographs back up again, if you would. On the front, I can kind of point these things out. So you have this bay window that was just a double hung and a double hung flanked by a picture flanked by double hungs on this gable end. This is an original part of the house. This whole second floor is all new. This is, I think, a little bit of the original part of the house. Dormers were added to that. There's another addition in the back. This was added. This has all been rebuilt. It's a mishmash. So that's why they would really like to have permission to tear it down and put something that's more cohesive and in keeping with Hyannisport, because what remains here now is it really is. It just, I don't know. It's not in keeping, I don't think, with a lot of the houses that are over in that area, and that's what their wishes are. They would really like to do that if the board would allow it.
Any other commission comments?
Is this the house on the corner of Dale Avenue and Marchant?
It's on Hyannis 15, Hyannis. I think it's Hyannisport Ave. Do you know where the house, George? Do you know where the house with the tower is at the end on the corner?
Yeah, that's Dale Avenue.
Okay.
The house across the street has a section that is Gothic. As the Gothic windows in the middle of it.
Not this one, but
no, the one across the street.
Yes.
Yeah, there's a garage that I think has just been torn down. That was right on the street between this property and the windmill on the corner.
Yes.
Yeah, okay, I'm looking at it right now, and that's on the corner of Marchant and Dale.
Yeah, you can.
It's the first house on the right on Marchant.
Yeah, you can see the site plan is up on the screen now. You can see the footprint. This where they, I don't know if you can see my cursor or not. Probably not. Is there a way I can point? I don't know. Sure if I can do that on here. Is there a way to allow me to control of this?
Annis Avenue.
I don't believe so, no.
Oh, okay. Well, anyway, try to verbally describe it. Where the house is located now on the site plan, as you see it. Part of the back section of that, close, do you see the pond and behind it there?
No, this is a different site plan than what I'm looking at in the photographs.
Yeah, it's kind of almost, I wouldn't call it a vernal pool, but it does have water in it, but it varies depending on the season. The house, the footprint that we would be allowed to build on would be less than what the house is occupying now. It would be a little bit narrower because of the setback from that pond.
Well, that's if you do it full demolition, right?
That is correct.
Yeah, if you did a partial, you would be able to retain the footprint.
We would, but unfortunately the foundation, that's one of the things that we really would like to replace because of the water problems.
Oh, well, you can replace the foundation, but this is why they leave one wall of a building on Nantucket so that they can maintain the footprint.
Yeah, well, they're really, with what we have laid out initially there, it still works for them without doing that. And they don't, you know, they're fine with that, not having that full size of the footprint because they want a little bit smaller footprint of the house. This thing sprawls quite a bit on the lot. So they're really, I mean, with the ceiling heights that are in the house in there and the floors, they're kind of sloping from one side to the other. There's been some differential settlement in there. There's a lot of structural things that they've just kind of shored up and kept them the way they are. But you could put a marble on the floor and it'll roll from one side to the other. Things of that sort that make it impractical to just kind of, I mean, by the time you got through with this, there wouldn't be a whole lot of it left. And it was built in 1946. So, I mean, that's why we're hoping that, you know, as far as it'd be different, I know if it was in the 1800s or something, but I don't think with what's been done to the house over the years that there's much left of it's not a quaint cottage anymore. It started out as a rather smallish house and it's been just added on to a number of times. So that's why they'd like to start fresh and demolish what's there and put in a good foundation. Move a little bit away from the wetland there, which is better for the wetland environment, and just start fresh with something that isn't just a mishmash.
Okay. Any other comments from the commission? Hearing none. Any public comment? I'll accept a motion to close the hearing.
I'll move that we close the hearing. Nancy Shoemaker.
Is there a second?
I'll second. Nancy Clark.
Okay. Does anyone want to do the motions and findings? Or have further discussion?
Vote. Do we need to vote on closing the hearing?
Yes, I'm sorry. Nancy Shoemaker.
Aye.
Marilyn Fifield.
Aye.
George Jessup. George.
I'm sorry, I was muted. Yeah, aye.
Cheryl Powell.
Aye.
Nancy Clark.
Aye.
Jack Kay. And I vote aye. So is there someone who wants to do motions?
I know where you are.
I'll do the motion. Courtney and Paul de Hachaveria, 15 Hyannis Avenue, Hyannis, map 287, parcel 118, built 1946. Full demolition to demolish the structure. I move that after review and consideration of public testimony, the application and associated materials, the significant building at 15 Hyannis Avenue, Hyannis, is a preferably preserved significant building.
Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Okay. And I vote will impose an 18-month delay. A nay vote will not impose an 18-month delay. Nancy Shoemaker?
Nay.
Marilyn Fifield?
Nay.
George Jessup?
Nay.
Cheryl Powell?
Nay.
Nancy Clark?
Nay.
Jack Kay?
Nay.
And I vote nay. Okay. So.
Okay. I move that in accordance with section 112-3F, the Barnstable Historical Commission determines that the full demolition of the building located at 15 Hyannis Avenue, Hyannis, is not detrimental to the historical, cultural, and architectural heritage or resources of the town.
Is there a second?
I'll second it, Nancy Shoemaker.
I'll second it.
And I vote determines that the full demolition of the single-family structure is not detrimental. No demolition delay is imposed. Nancy Shoemaker?
Aye.
Marilyn Fifield?
Aye.
George Jessup?
Aye.
Cheryl Powell?
Aye.
Nancy Clark?
Aye.
Jack Kay?
Aye.
Fran Parks, aye.
I know where you are.
Thank you for your presentation.
Thank you.
You're all set, Gordon.
All set?
Yeah.
Thank
Yeah.
you very much. I really appreciate it.
The
Appreciate
one
your
next
time.
door is much smaller. I see that.
Yeah, it is. It is.
Yeah, so it's scaling it down. What are they going to do about that that wall that separates your view from the harbor?
We're not sure yet. I think they want to keep some privacy. There's a view corridor that is close to the property line that they
Yes.
want to keep
Okay.
open.
Yeah.
Thank you for your comments, but we need, George, we need to move along.
Oh, you have more to do. Okay.
More to do.
Okay.
All
Sorry
right.
about that. All right. Thanks
Good to see you
again.
again,
Thank you very
Gordon.
much.
Thank
All right.
you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Okay, next is the Cape Beach House LLC, 27 Marchant Avenue, Hyannisport, map 286, parcel 25, built in
27 Marchant
1928. Who's here for that?
I am Thomas Race with Delmage Architects.
Hi. Go ahead.
So I'll give you a little bit of a sort of background to this, which is our clients have been residents of Hyannisport for roughly a decade, and they're seeking approval for several minor improvements. It's part of the Hyannisport Historic District. It's non-contributing, but in their time in the residence, they've sort of learned about the weather patterns a little bit more intimately, and the northeast side of the property is a little bit more comfortable in the afternoon without the prevailing sea breeze. So I think these improvements really just seek to connect the house more to the yard there that is comfortable. So I think with that, I guess I'll describe a little bit about sort of the drawings we're looking at. Thank you, Erica. So the north is the front of the house, which is front porch, which we're looking to remove and replace with something slightly larger. And we're also looking to replace the windows in the sun porch, which was something we got approval. We presented to the commission in 2015. So the only other minor improvement is to rebuild. Yeah, keep going down a little bit, Erica. The pergola in the back would be replaced with something very similar in style. So here's the proposed work. You can see the front door. We're expanding the shed roof that's at the front door now with something that's 4 or 5 feet longer in each direction, and adding a little sloped roof pediment above the front door, indicating the entry to the house. This allows for connecting the interior spaces of the residence to the kitchen, which is to the right of the elevation as you're looking. If you scroll down a little bit, you can see a section through the porch, and that's currently a window, a double hung window that we'd like to expand into a French door, allowing for access to the front from the kitchen within. And if we go back up a little bit, the left side of the elevation is the sun porch, which the side flanking casement windows really would be this exact same style of what's there now, but it would have 2 sliding doors inserted, allowing for a step down to the yard there. So here's a plan sort of just demonstrating, I think, graphically the scale of the porch, new to old. Here are some existing photos. So that's the south side of the sun porch on the left-hand side. That is what we would like to replace on the north side of the sunroom. So it's matching in the style of the house.
You want to take off that little porch at the front with the
I'm in a meeting now.
Would you scroll down just a bit?
You want to take that small porch off and extend it all the way across the front?
Well, to the double hung window on the right where the shutters are. So it would go to that wall.
Yeah.
And just over the small casement by itself here on the left-hand side.
Okay, so in other words, where you have an existing gutter, from there into the corner.
Correct.
You're going to extend it further out as well. You're going to change the pitch, or you're going to do that I don't know what you call it.
Right now it has a shallow curve to it, so no, we wouldn't replicate the curve, but it would be a flat single pitched roof. Really cut, but the top of it would land right below the windows as it does now, where the top of the shingles are.
Yeah, but you're coming out a little further with the column, right?
Correct.
About twice as far. So you're going to enclose.
Yeah, roughly, sure.
I'm sorry.
Yes, I think that's a fair.
Okay.
Pretty quick.
It's about 42 inches deeper.
Okay. And on the back side, you were going to do the water side. You're going to do what?
We would like to replace the pergola, something slightly deeper. Whoop, stop. Go back a little bit. Right there. Yeah. Oh.
Well, that's the front. I see that. Now, on the back side, you're going to go out quite a little bit further, because the purple is the existing posting.
Correct.
And you're just going to square that off with a French style triple post corner.
Right.
Okay.
Right. I think we've developed that a little bit further, and I think we may stick with the dual 2 posts the way it is now. Just working with it proportionally to make it look, proper with the scale of the vocabulary that we have established. And I think we really are very hard to sort of, be sympathetic and sort of honor the tradition and the sort of the characteristics of the original house and make the improvements kind of tie in with it in a sympathetic way.
Yeah, that backside waterside elevation can be kind of windy at times.
Yes, and very much so. I think that's why, kind of the thinking about sort of spending a little bit more time away from the water. Granted, you lose some of the view, but it's just the afternoons in the summer are just too windy to sort of enjoy anything without everything blowing away.
Any other commissioners' comments, questions? No?
I had a quick question. If Nancy Clark,
Yes.
on where you were replacing things on the sun porch with some doors instead of the windows, they're just plain glass. No dividers.
The doors themselves are single light doors. Yes.
Oh, I don't know that you can buy them.
They can. If you look at the photograph, or I can pull up a photograph, whatever you prefer. So the existing photos there, we have the lighted windows and the single glazed door panels, which just ties in with the vocabulary of the structure that's there already. We're not inventing a new style or there. We're just trying to replicate it so it sort of is a cohesive design.
So it's a single light rather than a single glaze, right?
Correct.
Yeah. Okay.
Yes, it's insulated glass, right?
Yeah, you're not going to get anything that's a single light, a single thick.
No.
Okay.
No, not meet the energy code.
Where you're going to have that extension of the canopy towards the water, is that to the right of this center photograph?
I think it was, let's see.
I'm trying to see where it is, and it's not shown in any of these. I think it'd be to the left.
If we scroll up a little bit to the smaller photographs, perhaps we could zoom in a little bit closer on it. Otherwise, I would be able to share a picture. So the left.
Okay, there we are. That's the canopy. There's
Correct.
the pergola. Yeah,
right.
There's the pergola.
Right, and so it's the pergola there. I think it's a painted wood structure with a pair of beams and columns that sort of frame the outer flanks of it. There, I think, really, it would just come forward to the edge of that brick terrace.
You're going to come right out to the edge of the brick.
Right, probably right behind the granite curb there.
Okay, and your plans show that instead of just the two pillars, there will be a third one on the side. Is that correct? For each of them?
Yes.
At about the same spacing. That's
right.
Yeah. Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Any
Thanks.
other questions or concerns? Okay, I'm going to close the public hearing. Could I have a second, please?
I second it, Nancy Clark.
Thank you. Roll call vote. Nancy Shoemaker? Marilyn Fifield?
Aye.
George Jessup?
Aye.
Cheryl Powell?
Abstain.
You're going to abstain from closing?
Nancy Clark?
Aye.
Jack Kay?
Aye.
Fran Parks, aye.
And Nancy Shoemaker, aye. I was muted before.
Oh, I'm sorry. Thank you. Okay. So would someone like to do the motions for 27 Marchand Avenue?
Oh, go ahead.
Oh, go ahead, Nancy.
Cape House Beach, LLC-27, Marchand Avenue, Hyannis Port, map 286, parcel 025, built 1928. Partial demolition, renovations to the main structure with proposed plans, including remove and rebuild front porch, extend deck in kind, enlarge front door opening, replace kitchen window with door, infill north window wall of sunroom with sliding door to match existing door, and replace pergola with sunshade. I move that after review and consideration of public testimony, the application and associated materials, the significant building at 27 Marchand Avenue, Hyannisport is a preferably preserved significant building.
Nancy Clark, a second.
Okay. An aye vote will impose an 18-month delay. A nay vote will not impose an 18-month delay. Nancy Shoemaker.
Nay.
Marilyn Fifield.
Nay.
George Jessup.
Nay.
Cheryl Powell.
I will abstain. There's a reason.
Nancy Clark.
Nay.
Jack Kay.
Nay.
Fran Parks, nay. Okay.
I move that in accordance with section 112-3F, the Barnstable Historical Commission determines that the partial demolition of the building located at 27 Marchand Avenue, Hyannisport is not detrimental to the historical, cultural, and architectural heritage or resources of the town.
Second. Is there a second?
Aye. Nancy Clark, I vote.
I
Seconded.
vote determines that the partial demolition of the single-family structure is not detrimental. No demolition delay is imposed. Roll call. Nancy Shoemaker.
Aye.
Marilyn Fifield.
Aye.
George Jessup.
Aye.
Cheryl Powell.
Abstain.
Nancy Clark.
Aye.
Jack Kay.
Aye.
Fran Parks. Aye. Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
This is the house that singer bought and subsequently sold.
So, is there any Community Preservation Committee update, Marilyn?
No, because our December meeting was canceled and the January meeting is still ahead.
Okay. Any upcoming historical events? Anyone?
No.
No, not here.
Under other, may I bring up something else? We haven't heard anything for a while, Fran, about what's happening with the Cotuit house plans or the files.
As far as I know, they've been slowly but surely being taken care of. I'm not sure what the status is right at the moment.
Okay, thank you.
And just to let you know, I was on a LCPC meeting this morning, and it was about the historical section, and one of the discussion points was becoming a local certified community, which for, opening up the grant procedures, which seems to several times in the past to have gone nowhere. The other bit of information, the Wiano Post Office is now in Osterville on the Osterville Historical Society property, just waiting for a foundation.
Cool.
And the minutes. Apparently these minutes weren't sent to Marilyn first, so she hasn't had a chance to look at them before they were listed for approval. So has anyone else read through them and gone through them too?
I have read most of them, but I am, there's a few corrections I wanted to put in, but I would like to, I think it's more appropriate to continue them to the next one, give Marilyn an opportunity, because it was asking an awful lot to read all the, I struggled to read all those. And since she is our clerk, I would suggest that, and I'm happy to make a motion that we continue them to the next one.
Okay.
I'll second that.
Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Do we have to do roll call?
Sure.
I know, but it is what it is.
Yeah. Nancy Shoemaker?
Aye.
Marilyn Fifield?
Aye.
George Jessup?
He's not there.
Cheryl Powell?
Aye.
Nancy Clark?
Aye.
Jack Kay?
Aye.
And I vote aye. Any other business to come before the committee?
Yes, Madam Chair, there is. At the last meeting, you appointed Marilyn and I to put together the updated guidelines and to present them as were sent last week. And Erica was very diligent and got them sent out to everybody. That was supposed to be for this meeting. It's probably just oversight, didn't get onto the agenda. Can we go over what was sent, please?
I did read them. I would like a little more time to think about implications.
Sure. Yeah, okay. Be interesting to see what implications there are, but that's fine. Me.
We can review them at our next meeting.
That's fine. We were going to put them on this. Can we please put them on the agenda for the next meeting?
I totally agree with that.
Yes. Okay. Any other business today?
I think we need to make a motion that they be put on to, they be continued to the next meeting and placed on the agenda.
Well, since they were not on this agenda, I don't think we need to have a motion to do that. I think
we made a motion at the last one that we would put them on this time. As I was suggesting.
Ms. Parks, just confirming that you do not need a motion.
Thank you. Just put them on the next agenda, please. Thank you. Any other business to come before the committee?
Marilyn here. May I ask, could we get an update at some point on the status of the certified local government pursuit? Thank you.
Not aware. I'd like an update on the demolition by neglect policy also.
I'd be happy to look at both of those and report back to you at next month's meeting.
Great, thank you.
You're welcome.
Erica, we actually had, and it might have been before Fran's time, Sarah Korjup actually came and spoke to the members of the VHC and gave us a information, not type of seminar, but training on by neglect, which I thought was fascinating. I don't know if she'd be willing to do that again. We have a lot of new members, but there's a suggestion.
Well, we already approved a suggested bylaw change, which has been with the town attorneys for a while.
Yes, it has.
Yes. So I'll accept a motion to adjourn.
I move that we adjourn.
Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Okay. Nancy Shoemaker.
Aye.
Marilyn Fifield.
Aye.
George Clark. George Jessup.
Aye.
Cheryl Powell.
Cheryl, go.
I did say aye, but somebody was making noises, so you probably didn't hear me.
Nancy Clark.
Aye.
Jack Kay. And I vote aye. Thank you all very much.